It was on this date exactly 50 years ago, very close to this location, that Rossmoor Leisure World was officially dedicated by Richard J. Hughes, the governor of New Jersey, and Ross W. Cortese, the president of Rossmoor Construction Company. It was just about 5 years ago when Mr. Cortese's daughter Heidi reached out to us to rekindle the community's relationship with Rossmoor Construction Corporation. So with no further ado, please give a warm Rossmoor welcome to our Master of Ceremonies, Heidi Cortese.
Our first speaker today is John Katurba. John was raised and still lives in Monroe Township. He has always been interested in local history and the great stories of those wonderful people who lived there. I give you John Katurba.
It all started with a man's dream. And I'm sorry, Kevin Costner, but this was the original Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And boy, did they come. You came. They're still coming. But what if that didn't happen? What would we be dotted with here in Monroe Township? Would we wind up like our sister townships that are next door, dotted with warehouses? We don't know. We wouldn't know. But I'm very happy where we are today. Started with a man and a dream and a vision. Ross Cortese in California started this new way of living. Said, I'm going to bring that over to the East Coast. And he picked New Jersey. And why did he pick Monroe Township? Think of all the great things we have. Where are we centrally located? We can be in New York City at a Broadway show in 40 minutes. We can be in Philly going through great, wonderful historic museums in 45 minutes. Better, we can go to the Jersey Shore. Maybe a half an hour. Ocean Grove, half an hour away. And who would have thought? And I don't think he even thought of this. Atlantic City, there you go. But it all started with this one man and his vision. 47 years old. What did he know about retirement? I don't think he really was thinking how much he would have impacted Monroe. He came here in 1962 at the age of 47, came to the township officials at that time, proposed an idea for a large, upscale retirement community. Now, my colleagues and I have debated, was this the first retirement community in New Jersey? I don't think so, but we are almost 100% sure that this is the first gated security-wise community, retirement community in the state of New Jersey and on the East Coast. With that, there's some interesting commercials that he was putting out. And if you attended the presentation on Tuesday, Rossmoor was lucky enough to have a copy of that old advertisement. And there's an advertisement where they're interviewing one of the first residences of Rossmoor. And one of her comments was, I feel so safe here in Rossmoor and Monroe. We have a great security force. And she says, if I want to take a walk at 3 in the morning, I can do that. And I asked the audience, how many of you are going out 3 in the morning? And I don't know, I don't want to know what you're doing, but that was her comment. But one of the problems was to get Rossmoor here, of course, was accessibility from a major highway. Exit 8A did not exist in 1962. The town fathers worked diligently and were able to secure Exit 8A. Exit 8A opened February 1966. There was a big ribbon-cutting ceremony. It looked nothing like it does today. When you pulled off the turnpike there in '66, when it opened, it was one toll booth with a little lane that led to Forest Gate Drive, and you go left or right at the stop sign. That's what existed. Wasn't a lot of traffic then because we were mostly farm fields, agriculture, things like that. We also had an airport across the street. I don't remember, it's been long gone since then, but in 1945, after World War II, Jack Abeil's father, Foster Abeil, had owned the property, had owned Forest Gate Country Club, and his son Jack liked to fly planes. So it's nice to have a wealthy father, and he can have him built an airport. People like Arthur Godfrey used to fly in, some famous big band leaders. They would fly in and out to attend Forest Gate Country Club, because Forest Gate Country Club at the time, which opened in 1931, was a very, very popular place. Going forward, the construction started and commenced in 1965. And today we're here on the 50th anniversary. I have been growing up with Rossmoor my entire life, because in about 2 weeks I will also be turning 50, just coincidentally. So save me a spot in here in about 5 years, all right? But again, it's a big change. But what also he did for the township, he set us on this course that where we are today. Like I said, we could have been all warehouses. Another thing that he did was he brought utilities to Monroe Township. Now that's near and dear to my heart because that's where I've spent the last 30 years. But he did bring water and sewer to the area. Of course, you couldn't have well and septic out here. It was just impossible. The original tract of land that he procured and had under contract, believe it or not, in 1962 and 3, was Rossmoor, where we are today. That was called Village 1. Village 2 was to be Clearbrook. Village 3 was Concordia. Village 4 was Greenbrier, Whittingham. And also Village 5 is the industrial park today. And also included the tracts of lands where the Ponds and Encore site is today. But that was all to be encumbered in one village-type living. It was all to be self-sustaining. There were to be 7 clubhouses, a church for every faith built. There were to be horse riding stables. Yeah, believe it or not, he had horse riding stables. You were going to be able to ride horses around here. Don't know how that would have worked out with the golfers, but who knows. Speaking of the golf course was slated to be open in 1967. They worked diligently. They planted grass seed. And guess what happened that year? It didn't rain. It didn't rain all summer. So Mr. Cortese had the entire 18-hole golf course sodded. Can you believe that? I don't know what that cost in 1967 money, but I can't imagine what it would cost today. But that's how much that man believed in this project. The homes were built to the best construction technologies available at that time. He even brought a little bit of California with him. The original homes were built with cement tiles, not the asphalt shingles that you have today. And I'm sorry some of you mutual presidents have had to replace those old cement tile roofs for the modern day asphalt. But again, another high quality standard of living that he demanded. When you go inside later, you'll see some photographs of the opening day and the product that was visualized that day by the attending residences. You're going to see no expense was spared. And again, I'm so happy that Mr. Cortese came, did what he did, and as an outsider of the gate, again, it was a fantastic place to grow up. It still is. I'm raising my family here, and I can't thank him enough for his dream and bringing his dream here. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of the 50th anniversary, and have a nice day and enjoy the event. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It gives me much personal pleasure to introduce a dear family friend. Former counsel of Rossmoor Corporation back in the day, as well as a confidant to my father, Ross Cortese. When my dad was making his national vision for Leisure World a reality, he went in search of good local counsel. He interviewed a lot of people, couldn't find anyone. Mr. Arthur Phillips walked in, a junior lawyer. My dad interviewed him and said, "You're the man for the job," right on the spot. It is with great pride and affection I give you our family friend and friend of Rossmoor, Arthur Phillips, Esquire.
In 1964, Ross Cortese came looking for land, and he met up with my good friend Ted Barth, who had run the Forsgate Industrial Park and Forsgate Farms. At the time, I was lucky enough to represent Forsgate, and we talked to Ross, and he said, "I will buy all of Forsgate's holdings if you can get a turnpike exit here." My good friend Ted Barth and I went to Governor Hughes, and we got him to approve the turnpike. Forsgate donated 18 acres, and I did all the legal work to have it approved. And that's how the development came to be. After that, Ross had heard about some skullduggery that went on in New Jersey, and it was his intention to hire a young lawyer who wasn't involved in crooked politics. Consequently, he lined up 6 interviews. I was the first that he interviewed. The interviews were supposed to be 15 minutes. After an hour and a half, He said, "You're hired. Go prepare the necessary papers." Obviously, I was quite enthused, and to this day, I'm still involved with Rossmoor. At the time, several years before, there was a development called Electric City, which was supposed to house 60,000 residents. Before they could get off the ground, they went bankrupt. So when we came in and said, we're going to build this grandiose development, everybody said, oh, it'll never get off the ground. In order to prove that this man knew what he was talking about, we took the Township Council and the Planning Board out to California and toured them through Laguna Beach and Seal Beach. When they came back and saw the wonderful developments, they couldn't refuse to give us the necessary approval. As John indicated, at the time we originally had an approval, it was for 5 Rossmoors, each with its own golf course, its own clubhouse, and everything else that we still have here. Now, to tell you a little bit about Mr. Cortese, he built everything with the finest of material, and he wanted to make sure it was authentic New England architecture. He hired the leading architect from Boston, Royal Berry Wills, to come down here and design a New England community. He also went and had visited Italy and saw these beautiful walls that they built in southern Italy. So at the beginning of the development, he built this tremendous wall all around the whole development at a cost of over $1 million. Needless to say, the first winter in New Jersey knocked the damn wall down. So now you see parts of the wall and parts of wood planks connecting the same, and concrete that's holding it together instead of Italian masons who used that method in Italy. In addition to that, every facility was built with the finest of material. He brought with him a sheetrocker by the name of Lou Salvador from Northern California, who set up shop here just to do the work in the development. In other developments, they lag behind in construction because they can't get subs to work. Ross arranged to have the subs that he worked with in other projects locate here and work exclusively for him. So that's the reason we were able to build this development in a timely fashion. When we started the development, there was no Condominium Act in existence. There was what we call the horizontal property regime, which really was tailored for high-rise buildings. But I went in, I got approval to build the first 3 sections, which were co-ops, which we had built under FHA approval. After I had drawn those documents, the state took note of what we were doing here and passed the Condominium Act based on the documents that I had drawn. We also formed the Water and Sewer Company, of which I was able to get a tremendous allotment so that we could give enough water to feed the whole town. And the reason I did, we built a sewer plant here, and it had tertiary treatment. Now, the sewer plant is located way down on Union Valley Road. And what we did was pipe the water that came out of the sewer plant into the lakes on the Rossmoor Golf Course. So I went in for this application, I indicated, we are going to recharge the same aquifers that we took the water from, and consequently, we got a tremendous allotment. It was always a pleasure to work with Ross because he always wanted to do everything perfect within the law and to the best of his ability. He used the highest quality product. He wanted everybody to be happy. So that was the reason we sodded the golf course when the grass didn't grow, so that the first resident could tee off when they moved in. In most developments, the developers build the community facilities after they sell the houses. They use the money they got from selling houses to put the facilities up. And in many of those developments, the facilities never get built. They build the houses and they run. Here, Mr. Cortese put all the facilities in so they would be here when the first resident moved in. This was a new concept, and a housing development for senior citizens was new. Ross Cortese was a trailblazer. He set the tone. All the other developers that came after tried to copy, but none of them used the same quality and the same technique that Ross used. They didn't have sidewalks like we have. They didn't preserve the big trees like we did here. And consequently, we have what I consider the best development in any place. Now, in 1969, when the mortgage rates were up to 18 and 20%, and the FHA told us what we could sell the houses for, it wasn't profitable to continue the development. So we sold the development to Saul Eisenrod, who formed Guardian Development Corporation. And at the closing, Ross said to Saul, "I'm going to give you some advice. Hire Art Phillips to continue as your lawyer." So that's why I'm still here today. Now, Saul took the ball from Ross and he carried on and built the development to the same high standard that Ross set for him. And it's because of Ross's foresight and his ability to put people together who had the finest qualities, we have this fine development here. And we all owe gratitude and our thanks to Ross for the wonderful job he did, and to his wonderful daughter who's carried on his heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. That was really kind. Thanks very much. If my father were here today, 50 years later, he would be extraordinarily pleased to discover the fine, maintained care given to his former East Coast jewel. Moreover, he would be thrilled to know the residents of Rossmoor, New Jersey have thrived. Rossmoor, New Jersey has evolved in a classy way and shines brighter than ever. On behalf of my family, I dearly thank you all. Happy, happy birthday, Rossmoor.